out, you know. But
Okay.
and even though like now too, a lot of families are in acceptance, and back then even worse. Back then even worse. Now families are a bit more because you grow with the times. But
Right,
I'm
right,
from
right.
I'm from a school where parents were like, "What? Well, you know, my son is gay. Are you kidding me? They'll put you out." You know, and that's when kids would hang out in the pier, and that's where really houses were born from. You know, in a sense,
Right,
from
right.
the unity of these kids that didn't have family and didn't have no one to support family.
Do you
And
believe that the reason why a lot of the LGBT kids were getting put out of their families is because the religion, how how hard it was back then towards everybody's religion,
But not only that, the ethnic background of the families also matter because as a Puerto Rican mother and having a Puerto Rican father, they did not agree with it. And
Right.
It did make it hard.
Do you think that due towards religion at that time, how hard it was practiced compared to nowadays, that it was a big part on why a lot of gay kids were being put out of their homes back in those days?
I do.
Yeah, I think I think religion and I think fear, not just religion. I think society, and then like I said, a lot of things happen. Diseases were out and people started like dying and everybody got scared. I think, and I think that even those moments where family started to become a bit accepting of it, because we were progressing. The times were changing. The 90s came about. Social media was beginning to start. Cell phones and stuff like that. And I think the minute that they got more accepting of it, I think that boom, this thing hit where everyone got scared and families that had gay sons and daughters, became frightened. So if they were thinking about, wait a minute, okay, here's this movement coming out. They're singing about it. It's in the clubs. It's a good time. New York is having a good time. The world it's having a good time. And then boom, this thing hits. Okay, so if I had any intentions of coming out the closet, I'm going to stay in now because, I see what the fuck is going on. And I don't want to be, I don't want to have a son to that. I don't want to have a daughter to that. So I'm going to throw that out. I'm going to disown this. I'm going to not embrace this, even though this is my son. But now, thank God that things are on the rise again. And now again with social media and it being on television the way it is, and the fight for AIDS and AIDS equality and marriage equality and the fight for AIDS rather, it's a big deal and it can be anybody. It's not looked at as it's no longer looked at as, as just a gay man's disease or a African American or a Hispanic thing or where it came from. It can be anybody. And growing up I lost a lot of friends to it. And a lot of friends and I was a kid and I was like, wait a minute, what is happening? So I'm so glad, with that said, to be able to see these changes going on and people wanting to talk about it and it being okay and we can get together and discuss it and know that it's going to be okay and see a doctor and tell him, yo, this is what's up with me and he'll give you something. Instead of sitting at home with fear and just dying because not even a doctor wants to look at you.
Wow.
Shit like that. Yeah, or your family doesn't want to take. Yeah, or you don't want to tell anybody.
But
Because
don't
of
you
what.
think there's like a stereotype? That gay people are the ones who had AIDS.
Yeah, you still hear it nowadays. Back then, imagine it then. Back then, it was even worse.
Oh wow.
Yeah, back then even worse.
There was no education on that issue.
None whatsoever, man.
Wow.
None whatsoever. So now with the education and again social media and the gays, letting them know that look, it's not just us, it's all of us, and we're just as good and creative and talented as you guys are, and we want kids and we want the right to get married and walk down an aisle and we want rights like everybody else. I think they're beginning to society's beginning to realize that it's a game for all men and women, so to speak. It's a game we all play, and it's a game of life, and it doesn't discriminate,
Word. Yes.
Yeah.
How did you feel when the AIDS epidemic hit in the 80s?
Oh wow, I felt like crazy. Like I said, I was a kid, and growing up, and I watched it, and no one knew what it was, and I was so young. I was 18, I remember, and going to the AIDS walk when it was brand new, and like people who weren't gay looking at the parade, like just coming around, not even participating, just watching it, like
wow.
almost like what the fuck is this type look? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you're there with pride. Yeah, me. Look at me. You know, and it was definitely something to see. I mean, and even before me, can you imagine before me growing up how they had it?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, and that's where balls were born, I like to think, and it was a place to go and express your art and express your creativity, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, and express that because there was nothing else really to do. Nowhere else was it being accepted as much. You know? No. You know, you couldn't tell at work that you were gay. They would fire you or something to that nature. You know, you didn't have like, now you could take them niggas to court, you know, take people to court. You know?
Yes.
Yeah. Now you being gay and back in, and that's why I say that the ballroom community was born because of that. You know what I'm saying? And it was a place to go and be creative and express and be together. And you know, those that didn't have families and stuff like that, you know.
Wow.
I grew up with this scene, you know, and I appreciate it and I respect it and I will always rep it because I've seen it through the years and I've seen it evolve and I've seen it change. And I'm here to say that it's great to see the progression of it all, you know?
Yes. How were you introduced into ballroom?
Oh wow! Well, as how was I introduced? I was back in, oh my God, 86, 87. I went back in high school, man, like my freshman year, finishing junior high school, my freshman year in high school. I want to say, yeah,
days.
Yeah, like
Yes.
when it was good, when it was like about going out there and turning it, you know.
Yes.
And yeah, and I remember I hung out with, believe it or not, with the La Beiges, you know, the La Beiges. That was the first house that drew me in and that embraced me. Not many people may know that, you know, but it was them, the house of La Beija, back in the day. Pepper Mayshirek, you know, and Stuart La Beija, you know.
Word. Shout out to
Yeah.
Pepper La Beija and Stuart La
Yeah,
Beija.
definitely, yeah. The original people that paved the way, you know, and Paris Dupree and all those people. So yeah, with that said, they would come, and I knew a whole bunch of them, and we would hang out. And they took me to my first ball in Harlem. I remember it was at 5 in the morning.
Wow.
And I remember, yeah, because they started late, like early morning, you know, just into their early afternoon, early like noon, you know, just to avoid problems with people, you know. The later, the better. Early morning rise, and you will go to the ball at that time.
Word.
You know, it was, yeah. And you would be there all Sunday morning, like church.
Yes,
you know?
Classic.
Yeah. And it was that, and I grew up with them, and that's why I big up to all of them. I love those kids. I know that a lot of people may say and think that I'm prejudiced or whatever, but I'm not. You know? No matter what you heard, because I'm extravaganza now or whatever, I'm the father. No, the father is not prejudiced. I just want to make that clear because I know throughout the years it's been an issue.
Yes, it has been.
Yeah.
So we're not going to get to that yet, okay?
We're not going to get to that yet, he goes. All right.
Now,
But yeah, fine.
what I really
that.
want to get into is let's talk a little bit about the history of extravaganza.
The history of extravaganza. Wow.
Yes.
It was the first. Wow.
It's
the
very
first
important to have documented right now on Bronzing Radio.
Wow, I remember these kids, these extravaganza, the first Hispanic house to be respected in the ballroom scene is what I want to say in a nutshell. You know, it was the first house. It was the first house to gain respect in a scene that was predominantly African American, and they fought hard for this. And Hector, the original mother, and Angie and the mother and who came after that, and Hector, and they fought for this and they defended this because in the beginning they didn't really want to play with us, to be honest.
Wow.
They didn't want to play with us, and that was okay because it grew up competitiveness in us. We wanted to be there and let them know that and wanted them to see that we were good enough, that I was good enough, that we were all good enough, no matter what.
But there was Latinos before that in the ballroom scene, no?
Yeah, there was Latinos before that, but they never really started. They were all part of, honestly, they were black, they were Ebonies, and they were the houses. There was never a house that was predominantly Hispanic.
Okay.
There just wasn't at that time. There was houses that had, Hispanic members. Like I said, I started with the Latinos. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, just to let everybody know that's out there listening, because you know how the girls like to twist it. So I just want to make everything clear. It's not a racial thing. It was never a racial thing.
No, at all. That's what I'm saying. Like I said, I started with them. I started with the La Beiges, I started with the La Beiges, and then Ronald LeMay, may he rest. Those were the kids that I came out with. I went to my first ball with them. And those were African American houses on Jump. And then when I learned about the scene and I saw, what was going on and stuff like that, and I was like, oh my God, I want to almost like. Not that I didn't want to be a part of them anymore, that I didn't care, but I wanted to be a part of this, that not everyone else was accepting of it, because I also saw that these people, my culture, was repping, was turning it. So I wanted to participate with them,
right.
And they always drew my attention watching them. I had been to balls before and watched the extravaganzas, being a part of another house. And then I just joined them early on. Very briefly, I was in another house. I always was an extravaganza from Jump, I say. But yeah, and it was that, and they really didn't see, honestly speaking. They really didn't see us. I mean, you see it today a lot of the times, to be honest.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's no shade. It is what it is.
Well, how do you feel about, houses such as, so and so and so? So I don't want to say the house's name because I'm not trying to get in trouble or anything. You know what I mean? But how do you feel? But how do you feel about, houses clumping up together and sticking together? Do you feel like they try to push the other houses out from ballroom?
I think a lot of the houses, it's a lot of favoritism, honestly speaking.
Right,
It's a lot of favoritism. It's a lot of that. You see it. The audience sees it, and I think it's turned into that a lot of politics sometimes at some events. Not all, not all, but mostly, yeah. It really is. I mean, it really is. And it's no shade. I mean, like
for that legendary status, girl, the jump and swing from the chandeliers, honey.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it gets so competitive. And I think that also, it interprets and it comes out as in so many ways, as like favoritism, because you're going through so much, and favoritism, and even, I mean, I'm going to say the word, even prejudice against the Latinos, to keep it real.
Right.
Yeah. If there's anyone to be feeling any type of prejudice, it should be the Hispanics, because they don't allow us to win, really. You have to really, of course, I've been one of the few, and there's a few Hispanic legendary icons, but the majority, we can honestly say, if we're keeping it real, they're African American, and it's okay because we're there to support their scene.
Right.
But on the flip side, you can't say that with prejudice. I'm giving you my $30 and I'm up here dressed. So you can't say.
On the other hand, this is like a problem that goes back way before the late black era.
Yeah, honestly, it's that way.
And then everything followed after that. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and then extravaganza started, and of course we now, as we went, we had African Americans in the house, and we always did. Xavier Extravaganza, my brother, little Anthony, is in the house. That was there before me. You know, so we were always, you know, interracial.
Right,
you know,
right.
again,
It was about playing the game. It wasn't about
yeah. You know, we opened arms to everybody. If anybody took minutes to embrace us, was you guys, your scene. You know.